right. Welcome back, everybody, to our latest episode of The Nest. That is the New England Sports Talk. We had a very eventful week as we see both the Celtics and the Bruins playing in Game 7 of their respective series. The Patriots' schedule is released now for the 2022 season, and the Red Sox have been struggling pretty badly, even though they did win yesterday against the Texas Rangers. So we'll discuss the Bruins, Celtics, and Patriots primarily, and probably discuss the Red Sox a little bit at the end, fitting for a last place team, right? So last discussion point. So anyways, joining me for today's episode are Anirban Chakraborty and Rohan Venkatesh. How are you guys doing?
Good to be here. It's good to be here after 2 weeks off, and what a week to rejoin, right? When we got 2 Game 7s going on. I do wish the Red Sox were doing better, but it is what it is. But it's always good to see that the Patriots have the new schedule out, and yeah, I'm looking forward to fall and seeing how that's going. And yeah, go season, go bees. And puck drops a little over an hour away, so let's see how that goes.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, and exactly because last week we were actually off. We just had to take the week off, but there was a lot of news. Obviously, Game 3 was that day. The Celtics did lose that day. But yeah, no, we'll talk about all of this.
Yeah, sounds good for having me. I think there's a lot to talk about, like Rohan just said.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Celtics-Bucks first. I mean, I know the Bruins we'll talk about right after this, but the Celtics-Bucks, I mean, what a Game 6. Right?
That was an epic. That was an epic one, right? Like especially the Game 5 heartbreaker, which I think they really should have won, right? Game 5, and I believe was it game? I mean, two of those games really could have gone either way, right? Especially the game where I generally thought that the refs. I generally don't like to go up on the refs, but I think there's good evidence that they probably blew that call on that last minute offensive foul that they let go, and then of course Marcus Smart being fouled in 3-point territory. They awarded only 2 shots instead of 3, when that really could have made the difference and potentially sent it to overtime. And despite all of that, they still managed to get a shot off, and it was just fractions of a second short. So there were 3 different things that had to go the Bucks' way, and all of them did for them to win that game. And of course, that Game 5 loss was also kind of unfortunate. The Celtics were playing well. I mean, they seem to kind of have issues in.
They were up by 14.
They seem to have issues like third quarters and parts of fourth quarters as well. But I did like the response that I saw in Game 6 though. It wasn't just a close one. It was a convincing victory. We'll have to see how Game 7 goes. They got that back at TD Garden, and Celtics are a pretty good home team, but the Bucks have managed to be able to win there. So it's always going to be a tough matchup. Of course, Bucks playing without Chris Middleton. So they managed to do all this without him.
I mean, the Celtics are also pretty much without Robert Williams, right, for most of the series.
So yeah, that's definitely like a glaring absence over there as well. But for the most part, the core of the Celtics team has been intact. And I must say, of all the people, I got to be super impressed with Al Horford though, because he's really stepped it up, especially on days when Jason Tatum is not really. I wouldn't really say he's had bad games. He's had bad games relative to his usual self, which really, if you're speaking honestly, that's about an average to good game for most other people. But for his standards, he's probably had a few games that are subpar. And in those games, Al Horford has really stepped it up. And Marcus Smart, he's really shown the viewers who he really is as the top defensive player. And given all of that, the Celtics have been able to have a valiant showing against this Bucks team. Given the way they swept the Nets in the first round, I guess there would have been a case to be made that they shouldn't have had a lot of difficulty against the Bucks. But I guess the Bucks really they have really put up a good fight. And considering the way that the Celtics got better later on in the season, I probably would have expected them to get this taken care of earlier. But we are in the situation because we are in the situation, and the Bucks are a good team. But we'll definitely have to see how Game 7 goes. And now that I look back at the first series, yeah, the Celtics were good, but maybe this just means that Brooklyn was bad. Maybe there's just no other way to get around it. But we are where we are, and we'll see where things go moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I do also want to quickly say though, I mean, I think we do have to give a lot of credit considering how just how good the Bucks team is. I mean, Giannis has dropped 40 points in Game 6 and Game 5, right? And I think we're seeing even without Chris Middleton that this is just. I mean, Giannis has just shown that he has the ability to really take the game by its head and just take it wherever he wants to go. And there are so many possessions you see where it really looks like, whether it's Daniel Tice or Al Horford, they just defend him as well as they can, and then he just scores anyway. When you're just dealing with a player like that, I think a lot of it's kind of damage control. You're assuming that they're going to have big games. It's how much can we limit them from having big games. And I think what's really impressive about these last two is that even when Giannis had 40 points, and let's be clear, like this was 40 points. Like I know we were talking like Kevin Durant's 30 points in Game 4 and how it didn't really change the feel of the game, the intensity of the game. Like Giannis's 40 points, like really Giannis's performances in all these tight games has really driven that kind of tight feeling to it. Really motivated the Bucks, really done that. So I think we should give a lot of credit for how well we're really matching up against them. I think we forget, that we finished the season really strong, but this is still a fantastic Bucks team. And I do really want to quickly say, I mean, Game 6, this was the Jason Tatum show as far as I was concerned, and if you look at so many of the big plays we had, it was actually him in double team coverage, still finding a way to kind of do some nice moves and get to the basket, get 2 points here, 2 points there. Took like a good number of contested threes that he actually made. Though I do want to point out in Game 5 that we were definitely pressured into making some really bad shots when we were defending a 7-point lead or 8-point in the fourth quarter. So I think that he definitely rose to the occasion. And the question is what happens in Game 7, because interestingly enough, we're 1-3 at home in the series so far. So I don't know, like Amartey, what do you think?
1-2, right?
Sorry?
You mean 1-2, not 1-3.
Yeah. Sorry, I meant 1-2. I meant like 1 out of 3. Yeah. But
Okay,
Amartey, my question to you, right, is what exactly do you think is causing this kind of discrepancy? Do you think it's kind of showing that the teams are just so evenly matched that it's just going to go either way no matter where the game is taking place?
I mean, it feels like the Celtics are kind of sort of complacent at times. And like we sort of saw it against Brooklyn. And going back to Rohan's point, if Brooklyn was just bad, I wouldn't say they were bad, but I think there clearly is like a talent discrepancy between Brooklyn and Milwaukee. It's obvious, right? Like Brooklyn, the Celtics swept. And Milwaukee, this is going 7 games. So obviously Milwaukee is a much better team than Brooklyn, just looking at like what we're seeing, right? 4 games to 7 games. But I think the thing is like, it almost seems like sometimes the Celtics get a little too complacent, too passive. Like in Game 5, for example, like when you're up by 14, they kind of just sort of like went away from what worked for them. They started trying to take bad shots, ill-advised shots. And as a result, the Bucks got into it, like back into the game. And then at the end, it was just sort of carelessness, right? Like in Game 5, what really burned them at the most at the end was not getting that free throw after Giannis missed the free throw, because at the time the Bucks were down by 1. And if the Celtics secure that rebound and get free throws, then there's probably a good shot that they win Game 5. But they were just getting very sloppy. In Game 5, they allowed so many offensive rebounds. Like Bobby Portis, like you should not be allowing Bobby Portis to get an offensive rebound off of a free throw miss. Like that's inexcusable. And like I think what we're sort of seeing is in Game 6, they probably cleared it up a little bit. I mean, Jason Tatum was also fantastic, but I would also like to emphasize, like in the fourth quarter, because it was 82-70 going into the fourth quarter, the Bucks actually made it 85-81, and then Tatum came back into the game with like 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, hit a very tough shot over Drew Holiday, who's a terrific defender. And then, I mean, when Pat Connaughton scores to make it 87-83, Tatum hit a 3. And basically anytime the Bucks sort of had it, like made it kind of close, Tatum rose to the occasion. So I was still sort of seeing it. And even against Brooklyn, I saw it from time to time where the Celtics would go up kind of big, but then they'd allow the Nets to go back into it. But the Nets, I guess, just weren't good enough to take advantage of it. But meanwhile, what's happening is Milwaukee actually is good enough where if you sort of play down to them more, they will take advantage and can beat you, as we saw in Game 5. Even Game 3, right? It was like a 103-101. But really, they had the lead with like a minute to go, but they blew that opportunity. So it's almost like sort of like sometimes they just sort of mess up late game. The only game I can really say that the Bucks were clearly better than the Celtics was Game 1, because that was 12 points. So, I mean, overall, like I think that's just sort of what happens. Sometimes the Celtics get complacent and they sort of make these types of mistakes. But I'm hopeful that tomorrow they'll sort of be able to clear that up, right? In Game 5 and 6, both times they had double-digit leads, right, going into the fourth quarter. But like unlike game 5, they actually held on to it this time. So I mean that's sort of like the key difference I'm sort of seeing. Like game 4, for example, like we kind of saw that fourth quarter. They were actually losing in game 4, like going into the fourth quarter. But then Al Horford had his like best game of the playoffs. Tatum also had 30 points. Horford had 30, but I think Horford really led the charge in game 4. So that's sort of what I think it is. Like I think sometimes they get complacent, which they shouldn't be. I don't know why they would be getting complacent because they still haven't won a championship yet as a core. So I don't know why they would be doing that, but it seems like sometimes they just sort of get sloppy like that. So the hope is tomorrow they have the talent to beat Milwaukee. I think they are a better team than Milwaukee, but they need to show it and they need to do it one more time tomorrow to get into the Eastern Conference
Do you
Finals.
think do you think that part of this, like what we see as complacency, might just be kind of physical exhaustion or something? Because I think anyone watching this game, neutral or not, can say this has been a really really physical series on both sides.
I
Do you
mean,
think
I
that's
saw
part, like
some
when
of
you
this
have to
against.
guard Giannis the whole game and like take that kind of hit, or otherwise, like we see like the way they've been playing defense is really sticky coverage. Do you think that plays a role? Like once they get a lead, they're like, all right, let's just slow things down, and that allows the Bucks to come back in.
Yeah, I'm sure that would play a role, but I mean, again, I saw this against Brooklyn as well, right? There were times against Brooklyn where they'd be up by like 10 or 12, but then Brooklyn would make it cut the lead to like 4 points or 3 points. And then we sort of see this then, except against Brooklyn, the Celtics were able to kind of take advantage of it. So this is kind of like a reoccurring pattern, not just exclusive to Milwaukee, right? Like if this was something where like if they had blown out Brooklyn by like 25 every game, and then this was happening now, then I could say, yeah, maybe it's exhaustion, but this is sort of a reoccurring pattern I've sort of seen like in the playoffs overall, where they'll sort of like take their foot off the gas pedal and allow the other team to like kind of come back in. Only one time so far has really burned them. That was game 5, because game 3, they weren't really up big. They had a lead, but they weren't ever up like huge the way they were in game 5 and 6. But so that's like sort of what I think it is. Like, I mean, I don't know if it's complacency. I don't know if it's just sort of they get careless with it and just start forcing up really kind of ill-advised, tough shots that have low percentages of going in. So, I mean, but I mean, overall, like, I mean, I think I was happy with what I saw in game 6. Like, Tatum had 46 points, several clutch shots. It was nice to see Marcus Smart with 21 points, Jaylen Brown with 22 points. And like, I mean, I think the key for game 7 will be sort of like how you defend this is basically Giannis, like 44 points, 20 rebounds in game 6, right? But besides him, only Drew Holiday and Pat Connaughton scored over 10 points for the Bucks. So what we're kind of seeing is at this point, without Chris Middleton, the Bucks don't have anyone else to really go to in terms of scoring besides Giannis, who's like kind of reliable consistently. Like Drew Holiday, some days will be very good, but other days he'll be kind of inconsistent. And Pat Connaughton's a role player, right? So I mean, at best, they can probably expect like what, 10, 11 points. Maybe he'll have a good game and get like 15 to 20, but that's kind of his ceiling, right? He's a role player. So at this point, the Celtics have the clear advantage in terms of talent, right? Because Giannis is the best player among everyone here. But after that, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, I would take all of those right now over anyone else the Bucks have without Chris Middleton playing. So
That's kind of what I was about to say, right? Because the Bucks, I mean, they got several. I mean, they got some good players, but the core of that team is pretty much just Giannis, right? No disrespect to the other players on that team, but as Giannis goes, the Bucks go, right? Pretty much that's pretty much been the way it is like all series, all season. But you know, for the Celtics, that's not really the case, right? Obviously, I mean, Jason Tatum's been like the offensive core of this team, but okay, if Jason Tatum has a bad night, okay, Al Horford steps in. Okay, if Al Horford may not have a great night, okay, Marcus Smart steps in, and then you got supporting players like Daniel Tice as well, who are able to step in when there are missing pieces in any one player's performance on any given night. So in the sense of like which team is more whole, I would definitely give the Celtics the advantage, even though they don't have the kind of superstar player like Giannis, the way that the Bucks do. But that said, if a superstar could really have a superstar kind of night, then really all bets are off. And as he said before, as Amartya said before, it really comes down to just knowing that Giannis is going to have a good game. Or was it Amartya? Was it Anirban? I'm
It
sorry.
might have been me.
Yeah. I think you're the one who said that. You're the one who said that. Basically, it's just about containing Giannis, knowing that he's going to have a big night. So I would say if you can keep Giannis to under 20 points, Celtics win hands down. That's going to be the key to the game tomorrow.
I mean, that's not likely.
Very,
to
very,
happen.
very unlikely to happen. But considering the fact that most of our good players, Tatum, Horford, 20 points is like that's a pretty good night, right? May not be their best night, but that's a pretty good night. But that's the thing. It's added pressure for Giannis because he not only has to be good, he has to be at his best and really at the top of his game because he's got less support from his teammates. So in terms of that, I give the Celtics the edge over here. They are playing at home. I give the Celtics the advantage over there. So in terms of that advantage, Celtics, despite the fact that both teams are 2-1 on the road. So if you take that for what it's worth, but then again, the atmosphere of Game 7 is always going to be different. And of course, these teams have seen each other for 6 games and they know a lot about each other by now. So that's not really an advantage for either one because that goes both ways. But overall, I would say slight advantage Boston on this one. Not a huge advantage, but I'd say too close to call, but slight advantage Boston.
I would agree. I think, especially considering we just beat the Bucks at home for Game 6 when they kind of had the ability to close out the series. I'm kind of hoping that we see a repeat of when we went 3-2 up on LeBron's Cavaliers a few years ago, and then they kind of came back to beat us. But I will say that I feel like one wild card here is really Jrue Holiday's performance because I feel like the Bucks' performance really moves with, or I feel like his performance really drives the outcome because since Chris Middleton's been out, I think they really looked to Jrue Holiday to get the points, those like 20-point games that Chris Middleton would have contributed, along with, of course, his other contributions. And when you look at the games the Bucks won, right? Game 1, he had 25. Game 3, he had 25. Game 5, he had 24, right? And then the other ones, he didn't break 20. And I think it really depends on the kind of game he's going to have because, I mean, it's been pretty clear the Celtics focus on containing Giannis. They've been willing to leave people like Bobby Portis and to some extent Jrue Holiday open to make shots, or at least gave them time to have to make a good shot. So I think it's really going to depend on that too. Can Jrue Holiday kind of step up because we already know he can do the defense. I mean, we saw that in Game 5 how Jrue Holiday was really the most decisive Bucks player in the last kind of minute. You could say he like had those crucial 3-pointer. He stripped Marcus Smart. So I think that's someone you have to look at too. This is definitely Giannis's team, but Jrue Holiday is the next most important person, especially with Chris Middleton now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key for Game 7, like the Celtics just need to sort of, I mean, I would say like the key thing is to look into Game 5 and look at the first 3 quarters of Game 5 and then look at everything you did in Game 6 because pretty much they won all 4 quarters in Game 6. And in Game 5, they were doing well up to the 4th quarter. So, I mean, I think it's a very similar thing. It's almost like Game 5 and 6 pretty much had the same sort of lead up to the 4th quarter, where in both times the Celtics were up going into the 4th quarter, except in Game 6, they actually closed the deal. But in Game 5, they blew it. And I think they are the better team than Milwaukee at this point. So I do like the Celtics should win tomorrow, but it's really just going to come down to like the extra like players and like after the superstars, right? Like after Giannis and Tatum, like who's going to step up between Jaylen Brown and Jrue Holiday? Who's going to step up between Marcus Smart? And I guess at this point, it would be like Brook Lopez in terms of like position, not position matchups, but just in terms of the player, like the options on the team, right? Like Brook Lopez. So I think that's what it's going to be really kind of interesting to be like. I think Grant Williams overall.
That's huge advantage
nice
Celtics
job.
because if one of their players doesn't step up, we got several other players who can.
Yeah, I mean, I also just want to mention like Grant Williams has done a nice job defending Giannis overall. He's actually drawn a lot of charges. Like overall, the Celtics have done a great job in getting Giannis in foul trouble, right? I mean, Giannis has actually like been called for several charges. Like yesterday, he was called for at least 2 or 3 offensive fouls.
Was it 11 in the series or something? I think he has more than 11.
Yeah. I mean, he's a very physical, aggressive player, right? So like it's obvious like he'll get called for a lot of these types of plays because oftentimes he'll just like run into the other player directly and like cause the other player to like fall all the way backwards just because of the momentum. So like he's a great player, obviously, and like he's definitely going to be someone the Celtics have to sort of just accept that he's going to have a big game. But my key is going to be sort of like how does Holiday do? And like the Celtics have all the necessary components to win this game. But I don't know, like it's just sort of making me uneasy because we felt good after Game 4, right? And then in Game 5, they lost the way they did. And then now we sort of feel the same way we did after Game 4. So that's why I'm a little hesitant to just obviously feel optimistic, right? So, I would say that the Celtics should win tomorrow. And I'll probably pick them to win because I don't think they should lose to Milwaukee. Well, when I say should, like if they lose to Milwaukee tomorrow, like the season like outlook of what we'd say would be, I would say it was pretty disappointing if they lose to Milwaukee the way it sort of just turned out, right? Like you had home court and you lose the way you did. That would be a disappointment. So I am hoping they can avoid that tomorrow. But
well, it's not a disappointment considering the fact that like most of the betting markets had them losing to Brooklyn in the first round. So I'm just putting that in perspective.
yeah, but like, wouldn't you feel like disappointing? Like you sweep Brooklyn, you get all that emotional energy from that, and then you just lose in the next round. Like, wouldn't that be kind of like?
Well, I would say, yeah, I would say, given the way the Celtics team really picked up towards the end of the year, I mean, there are several times that I said that I think this team has what it takes to go all the way. And I mean, Ime Udoka, he's been a terrific coach.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it, right?
So,
like, look at the league, right? Like, there isn't any team out there.
All the elements are there, but that just shows you like just how hard it is to reach the mountaintop. I mean, there have been several seasons where the Celtics went to the conference finals and lost. Of course, that was under Brad Stevens. And
yeah, but those teams, do you realistically think they had a shot at winning the championship those years?
They got close. They did get close on several occasions. So
yeah, but the years like they went to the conference finals. Do you think they would have won the finals?
Well, of course. I mean, of course.
Well, that was when the Warriors were there. So
exactly.
Yeah. So like,
no one would have.
Yeah.
Like, Braun
so
beat them once.
like 2018 when the Celtics lost to the Cavs. Yeah. Like even if they managed to beat the Cavs, they would have gotten slaughtered.
So that's different, right? Than this, because for once there isn't a team like that who really like is that intimidating to us anymore, right? Like Golden State, Phoenix, Dallas in the West, right? Do any?
They're good teams. They're all good teams. But they're not 10 feet tall.
Out of fear, the way you did for the Kevin Durant Golden State Warriors? No, I don't.
There are lots of good teams, but everyone seems beatable.
Exactly. So that's the thing. Like, I mean, and you don't know how the landscape's going to change next year, right? Like we thought after 2010, after the Celtics lost to the Lakers in the finals, the Celtics had a window of probably 2 to 3 years. But then what happened? LeBron James teamed up with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh in Miami, and that basically ended that Celtics big 3 run with Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen, right? So we never know what's going to happen all of a sudden. After LeBron beat the Warriors in
especially after Ray Allen went to the Heat.
yeah, but and then what happened in 2016, right? After LeBron beats the Warriors and think, okay, yeah, the Warriors are now beatable. They get Kevin Durant. And for the next 3 years, they pretty much dominate the league until Kevin Durant left for Brooklyn. And then we thought that was a dynasty too in the making until obviously everything that kind of unraveled there. So, I mean, the thing is, I mean, the Celtics do have a good core and I would say their future is very bright, but at the same time, like I can't take anything for given anymore. Like anything can just spiral out of control all of a sudden, right? So
anything can happen at any time, right?
That just highlights you need to make the most of.
Yeah, so you got to make the most of your opportunity, right? Like look at Toronto in 2019, right? With 1 year of Kawhi Leonard, they won the championship. It's a good thing they did, right? Because Kawhi Leonard left after that, even after he won a championship there. Like one of the best possible situations was for him to stay in Toronto, but he chose to still leave. So you don't know what's going to happen. Like you got to take advantage of what's going to happen then, because I mean Toronto, the next few years hasn't been the same anymore. So we can't really assume anything. So that's what I'm saying. Like this opportunity right now is there for the taking. Like this championship, it can be won by the Celtics. And like after this, like we don't know when the next great opportunity might be. It might be next season again, but we don't know. Like what if happens in the offseason if a team like Milwaukee decides to add another superstar, or a team like Brooklyn adds another superstar all of a sudden, and then they're formidable again. Like it's just, you got to like sort of like take every opportunity that's given to you.
Yeah, it's definitely got to be a valid point. I think tomorrow's game is going to be really, really close. I would be surprised if the game gets decided by more than 5 points in either direction. I would be very, very surprised if that happens.
Well, if you do say that, I hate to say it, but if you are saying it's going to be a close game, that does kind of favor Milwaukee this series, because Milwaukee is actually 2 of Milwaukee's wins were by 2 points and 3 points.
So that would be advantage Milwaukee. Advantage Milwaukee on close games. Advantage Milwaukee in the sense that they got the superstar. Advantage Boston home court. Advantage Boston that they have many different good players. So that's about as even as it gets. Even though I have to slightly favor Boston, it's like it's about as dead even as it gets.
Well, okay, so let me just ask you guys, because I already made my pick. I am picking the Celtics to win tomorrow. Who are you guys picking for Game 7?
I'm gonna pick the Celtics at home to win by 6, and I think, like you mentioned, it's probably going to be a very, very nervous finish for all of us. But I think we'll come out on top, knocking on wood.
115 to 112 Celtics. That's my call.
Yeah. All right. I have to give a score prediction. I think, yeah, it'll be Celtics by 8. Okay. So pretty much in that ballpark, like, like at the end of games, sometimes free throws make the like disparity a little wider, the score disparity a little wider than what it was. So I'll say Celtics by 8, but same idea roughly. Okay, so yeah, let's now
Let's head to
move
the
on
ice.
to the Bruins. Yeah, I mean another game 7. I just want to start off with this.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been a very impressive series. I mean, what I've seen from the Bruins, because look, Carolina absolutely smoked the Bruins in 3 regular season games. In the first 2 games, the Hurricanes
Like
win in this series
7-1, like
5-1, 5-2 in this series, right? So the first 5 games, Carolina isn't just beating the Bruins; they're absolutely crushing the Bruins. At this point, you're like, okay, maybe just end the series in 3 games. Like I don't even want to see Game 4. But then in game 3 and 4, I mean, the Bruins win 4-2, 5-2. They're winning convincingly in Boston. And then the Hurricanes win game 5, 5-1. Bruins win game 6, 5-2.
This kind of has
crazy.
like a weird, the feel of this whole series is like very, very similar to the feel of the 2011 Stanley Cup Finals, right? Like you lose the first couple of games at home, and then you win the next. You lose the first couple of games on the road, then you win the next couple of games at home, then you go down 3-2 by losing on the road again, then you force a game 7 by winning at home again. This has like all the looks and feel of pretty much that team. 2011,
yeah, I mean,
Vancouver was such a strong team that they had Roberto Luongo as the goalie back then, and he had like Aaron Rome was in the lineup back then.
Alexander Burrows.
Alexander Burrows, but overall that the all the hallmarks of that team I can kind of see in this Carolina team, right? Sebastian Aho has pretty much been their star player, their star goal, their star goal scorer. But I mean, they got Stahl as well, and the thing is, the
thing I want to ask you, Rohan,
teams,
is this.
Yeah.
So let me just ask you this: what is the difference between playing in Carolina and playing in Boston? Like, what do the Bruins have to do in Carolina to generate offense? Because they're not able to do that in Carolina. They're able to do it in Boston, but like, what's sort of holding them back from doing this in Carolina?
I would say that the games that they played in Carolina, they pretty much didn't really get off to a good start, right? And when you're not really getting off to a good start, that kind of affects you for the rest of the game, right? I would say it's some defensive lapses that kind of get to them early on, right? They'll allow some early chances, and they might get lucky and not allow a goal. But it's like some of those defensive breakdowns where they'll allow a goal, and then after that, it just pretty much opens the floodgates. And I would say that, but it's not just that, right? I would say that after allowing the first goal, which has pretty much happened throughout most of the series, barring last game, of course, but after allowing the first goal, the Bruins have been able to get back and stay resilient in the games that they played at home. Whereas the ones in Carolina, the moment they give up that first goal, the crowd gets into it, and then it pretty much spirals out of control from there. So either it's got to be like maintain a tight checking game, maintain a good back checking game as well, and stay defensively tight. That's probably those are probably going to be the keys to the game early on. But and of course that defensively is going to get a little bit easier. I mean, of course, we got Hampus Lindholm back in the lineup right now, and Bergeron and Marchand. That line hasn't really been up to the mark. Let's just be honest over here. Of course, like Marchand's kind of been a little off recently, and I'm just really hoping that this isn't Bergeron's final game in the Bruins uniform, because his contract is up after this year. Obviously, if the Bruins do end up losing today and they end up going home, there's going to be some serious questions about his future in Boston. So I'm really hoping that's not really going to happen. But I have been saying for a while that the Bruins need to get younger talent. Pastrnak, he pretty much does kind of fit that bill over there. But
Charlie McAvoy and Swayman.
Charlie McAvoy, even Charlie Coyle, Swayman. Although Swayman has definitely been the better goalie. Of course.
So yeah, he's playing tonight, right? Or today?
I believe he is.
He was good in Game 6. So
yeah, because if even though Ullmark was slightly better towards the end of the regular season against the Carolina Hurricanes, though, I would definitely pick Swayman to start in net. But as he said, though, like Hurricanes winning convincingly at home, and then Bruins winning convincingly, maybe not as convincingly at home. But
I mean, the scores are 5-2, right? That's pretty convincing.
Yeah, the last one was a garbage goal. It was an empty netter, so I won't really count that. But
4-2, right? I mean, that basically means like it was pretty convincing. 2 goals.
Yeah, but so given all of that, I I don't. It's going to be a tough task, and to be quite honest, I think Carolina's favored over here. It really doesn't look that great, but I want to be wrong, and I want the Bruins to surprise me.
Well, Hampus Lindholm did come back in Game 6, as you mentioned, and I'd say he had a pretty decisive role there actually with his defensive play. And I believe there was at least like one play on a 2-on-1 pretty early in the game where he actually made a really important defensive play to keep it moving. So I feel like to some extent, I feel like the Bruins kind of in Game 6 found a strategy that worked for them. And I do feel like having Lindell back for Game 7 too is something, because it seemed like he was able to play really well against the Hurricanes. I don't know, like Rowan, what do you think about? Because I know we know about his defensive performance. Do you think his
But good defense,
something for the offense?
but good defense has a carryover effect, because if you have a disciplined and tight defense, it gives your offense more opportunities, because it gives them ways to kind of experiment in the attacking zone, right? It allows to kind of like it allows for those like breakout plays from the neutral zone to kind of develop as you get past the blue line, right? That's not really going to be possible unless you have a defense that's able to frankly do its job and get the puck out of the defensive zone. Because there have been games where the Bruins are just constantly just battling it out in their own zone, giving up bad penalties, and the penalty kill hasn't been that great either for the Bruins. So yeah, stay out of the box. I mean, I know that should sound obvious, but stay out of the box and don't rely too much on special teams. They have gotten some power play opportunities, but the Bruins power play has kind of been hit or miss, right? So I think the keys to this game are going to be having a better 5-on-5 game and really not taking any bad penalties and staying defensively tight from the beginning. These are all really big things and much easier said than done. But when you're playing a Game 7 against a team like Carolina in their building, you got to be at your best. And even then, you might just pull it off. But anything short of that, then the Bruins are going home today.
Yeah, so I think the key's going to be sort of like, I look back at Game 6, and with Lindholm back, I'm hoping that this is more of the formula we'll see. But Game 6, it was scoreless in the first period, right? And then Marchand scores, Charlie Coyle scores, but then the third period, the Hurricanes actually made it 2-1, right? But then the Bruins answered, and that was actually a pretty stressful time, because at that point, you could maybe sense a little bit of momentum shifting, but the Bruins sort of held their ground, added some extra goals to get to the comfortable point of the game. So that's what I'm hoping to see today. If the Bruins can kind of score first, strike first, that would be huge, because I think besides Game 3 when Carolina scored first, I think the home team, aside from Game 3, has scored first in every game so far in this series, right? So
the most part has been Carolina scoring first, except for the last one, if I remember correctly.
Oh, really? So even though Game 4, Hurricanes,
I
believe Game 3.
I believe so. You could check me on that, but that's what I remember off the top of my head.
Okay. So, I guess that's the thing then. If that's true, then that's even more concerning for the Bruins, but at the same time, I think it's just going to come down to I don't know, I think they can match with Carolina, but it will be tricky, right? They're a good team for a reason. They're a very good team, and we'll have to see how far the Bruins can kind of go today.
I give them a 35% chance of victory today.
So what's your score prediction?
I'm gonna go with the 4-2 Carolina.
Okay.
Let's go. I'm gonna go 3-2, and then the fourth one is an empty netter. That's kind of what I'm going with today. I want to be wrong though.
I'm gonna go 3-0 Carolina today.
Oh, you think it's gonna be even worse? Okay.
Same idea roughly.
Yeah.
I think they'll just sort of struggle a bit. I feel like it'll be one of those types of hockey games where it's just very frustrating, because the Bruins will probably get a lot of shots, 40 shots, but nothing will just go their favor. But I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. Nirban, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's a Game 7 kind of environment. I think they'll probably go to overtime, and then I think Carolina will score. We'll go 2-2 overtime, and then Carolina scores to go 3-2.
Interesting. So all three of us picked the Celtics to win their Game 7, and all three picked the Hurricanes to win their Game 7. Interesting. Okay.
So yeah, if somehow the Bruins win and the Celtics lose, then I guess then all of us are morons. But whatever.
I'll take it if the Bruins are winning and Celtics, but the best case is if both win, right? And we have extra rounds of playoff to cover.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll gladly take that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
okay.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so okay, that's going to cover up our Bruins talk. And now let's talk about the Patriots now a little bit. So the schedule has released, not just a little bit. We're going to do something what we did last year on the show. Yeah, so last year on the show, what we did was we actually went through the Patriots schedule, all 17 games from 2021. And we actually, back in May, last May, we predicted each of the matchups. And that time it was me, Ujan, and another member, Joe, who joined for that episode. So today we're going to do the same thing. Just very quickly, we're just going to go through the matchups, all 17 of them. I'm just going to ask for win or loss, no scores at this point. It doesn't matter. So let's just predict win or loss for each of these matchups. Okay, so week 1 against the Dolphins. I'm saying it's going to be a loss to the Dolphins. What about you guys, Rohan?
Yeah, I'm going with the loss as well. I mean, the Dolphins, they do have Tyreek Hill coming in, and Dolphins, they're not a bad team, but I don't think the Patriots have generally been better. But for some reason, Miami's kind of been a thorn in our side.
Okay,
so I'm going with the Dolphins week 1.
Okay, and I'm okay. Just one thing, all of us, at the end of your prediction, say what the Patriots' current record will be, because I'm sure at some point we'll lose track of this. Okay, so right now the Patriots, under my prediction, are going to be 0-1. Rohan is also 0-1. And Nirvan, what about you?
Yep.
I'm going to say 0-1 as well. I think we've had a lot of trouble putting 2 under pressure in the last 2 games we played. So I think it's going to be a similar kind of calibration opening game for us. 0-0.
Okay.
It's going to be an adjustment process for Mac Jones, but it's not going to be quick or easy.
Okay. So week 2 against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. I'm going with a win.
I'm going with the win as well. I think Mac Jones gets back on his game. He gets past that rough start against the Dolphins, and Patriots, who've been generally pretty good against the Steelers. Steelers, not a bad team, but I think Patriots can pull it off at Heinz Field. So yeah, I'm going with 1-1.
Yeah, I'm also going to say 1-1. The Steelers are in a rebuilding mode if there ever was one. So I think we can definitely take advantage of a team in a large transition with Big Ben retired.
Okay. Week 3 against the Ravens, home opener at Gillette Stadium. I'm going with a win. Obviously, Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews are a formidable quarterback tight end duo, but I do kind of feel the Patriots can win this matchup. The Ravens traded away Marquise Brown to the Arizona Cardinals in the offseason. So I'm kind of interested to sort of see how the Patriots do, but I think the Patriots have a shot in this game for sure. So I'm going to go with 2-1.
So this is going to be like probably one of the early tests for Mac Jones going up against another great quarterback like Lamar Jackson. Home opener though, I think it's going to be a great atmosphere. And well, the Ravens, while good, they're definitely beatable, and I'd say 2-1 Patriots.
I might actually say that we'll lose this game and go 1-2 because I think this will be the first test of this season for us against a really mobile quarterback since we last played Josh Allen.
Oh, this is game 3. Sorry, 2-1, not 2-2. Yeah.
So I'm saying 1-2. I feel like this will be our first time, and it'll be a taste test of how well we do against a really mobile quarterback.
Okay, week 4, Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. I'm going with a loss. It's just going to be tough. Like, I know the Packers lost Davante Adams, but like against Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be hard. And I mean, the thing is though, like if the defense can hold down the fort, I could see the Patriots maybe having a shot at the end, but it's just hard for me to pick the Patriots in this matchup.
I'm gonna disagree with you over there and say that the Patriots pull it off because while the Packers are a good team, losing Davante Adams, that is a little bit of a blow. And Aaron Rodgers, he's kind of hit or miss, right? If he has a great game, sure, but if Mac Jones has a better game, and I think he will, I think that the Patriots have a shot over there. And against the Packers, the Patriots have held up pretty well historically. Now, obviously, it's a different team right now.
Well, they don't play the Packers that much, so I don't know like how much the past would wait.
They don't, and that's a fair that's a fair argument. It's a small sample size, but Aaron Rodgers, I mean, for the great quarterback that he is, I think that Belichick will have a good game plan against it, and given the fact that Aaron Rodgers has kind of come up short in a lot of big game moments, going up against a coaching staff.
But that's in the playoffs, right? In the regular season, he's usually pretty good.
Yes, but football is football at the end of the day.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Ron.
So the I mean, the only way that they're different is like psychology aspect of it, the pressure,
But that's
the
big, right?
winner.
Like, look at Aaron Rodgers. They won he won MVP last year, right?
The winner go home stuff. But at the end of the day, the objective is still to play a better game than the other team and score more points.
Yeah, but in the playoffs, it's
that
different,
doesn't really
right?
change.
Yeah, but
that
in
doesn't
playoffs,
really
it's
change.
a different vibe altogether, right? Like, look at last
I
year,
understand
Aaron
that.
Rodgers was the MVP, right? They scored 10 points in the playoffs. It's different, right? In the regular season, that same team was probably scoring 24 to 31 points a game. So it's different, right?
I understand that, and I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. But something kind of tells me that this is going to be Mac Jones's breakout year, and it's going to be by putting up these big performances against good teams. And it's going to be one of those games where you allow a lot of points, but you somehow pull it off because it's just a slugfest at the end. I think it's going to be one of those games.
Okay, no, that's fine. Okay, so your record is what, 3-1 then?
Yeah, I'm going with 3-1.
Okay, and your bond?
Yeah, I'm actually going to say that we're going to pull out a victory at Lambeau because, it's true that Aaron Rodgers is very accomplished, but Bill Belichick, I mean, even if we haven't played against him, he's just been in the league for so long. There's like so many opportunities for Bill Belichick to have collected knowledge on him over the years, even if they haven't played directly. And like I said, we will have played Lamar Jackson, who's also really good at running out of the pocket and stuff. So I think that'll be really good exposure that will let us take on Aaron Rodgers. And honestly, I've said this before. I'm not really that afraid of him. And yeah, he's great in the regular season, but he's gonna be without Devontae Adams, and we saw that he's pretty much the only receiver Aaron Rodgers trusts on that team. So I think he's gonna have some massive problems there, getting used to throwing to other people as his number one receiver.
So Patriots are 2-2 for you then.
I think they're in my count they are 2-2 after winning. I agree.
All right, just a reminder to everyone, just say the Patriots record at the end of your take. That way everyone remembers.
So I guess I'm at 3-1 then.
Yeah. Okay, so week 5 against the Detroit Lions at Gillette Stadium. I'm going with the win here. Not much explanation.
Yeah. It's the Lions. They should
3-2 for me.
4-1 on my end.
Yeah, I'll say 3-2 for me. I'm calling a nice victory over the Lions as much as I'm rooting for them this season.
If the Lions win, they can always look back on this moment, and this is gonna be one of those things where we go on air and we say these things, and it's gonna be one of those things that either we turn out okay or this video ages terribly.
Oh, we'll see what happens.
Okay, yeah, week 6. This is interesting. They're playing at Cleveland. I mean, the thing is, we don't know if Deshaun Watson will be playing this game, if he gets suspended by the NFL or not. So, I mean, it's possible that the quarterback could be Case Keenum or Baker Mayfield even possibly. I don't know who will be starting. And I don't know Baker Mayfield's situation right now. I know he wants to get traded. So it probably won't be Baker Mayfield, either Deshaun Watson or Case Keenum. Either way, though, I think the Patriots, I do like their chances against the Browns. Like, obviously, I know last year they beat the Browns pretty easily, but Watson is definitely an upgrade over Baker Mayfield. But I do think the Patriots will be building up some momentum after a week 5 win against the Lions, which I'm predicting. So I think they're going to be winning this game. So I'm going with 4-2.
Yeah, I think this should be a win as well. I think the Texans they're an okay team, but
in Browns.
Sorry, the Browns. Yeah, Browns. Sorry, I think the Browns. I mean, they're an okay team. They've been getting better, but I see no reason why they should pose any kind of major challenge to the Patriots. So I'm going to win on this one. So I'm going with the 4-1.
I mean 5-1.
5-1. 5-1. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the Patriots can actually win at Cleveland to go 4-2. I think regardless of who plays, I think we just cannot forget that Deshaun Watson will not have played football prior to the season, like professionally, for like 2 years. And it's really hard to tell how strong he'll come back in this season. So I think that's going to be some growing pains maybe. I'm not really that worried about the wide receiver core. I mean, Amari Cooper's there. I don't think he's the same kind of explosive player he was at Dallas like 2 or 3 seasons ago. So I think we're going to do pretty well in this department, go 4-2.
Okay, week 7, Monday Night Football against the Chicago Bears. I'm going with the win. I know Justin Fields with a different coach now. It'll be an interesting situation, but I think Bill Belichick against a young quarterback at home on prime time should be able to devise a great matchup or game plan to contain the Bears offense. So yeah, 5-2.
Yeah, should take care of business there. Should be win for the Patriots, 6-1.
Yeah, I don't think I have much to add here. I think I'm calling a win to go 5-2.
Okay, week 8 against the New York Jets, win. I mean,
Yeah, that's a
not
win.
much else to say.
Yeah, that's a win.
6-2 for me. No explanation.
79-19 the Patriots outscored them 79-19 last year in 2 games. Obviously, it's different. I mean, I think Zach Wilson did get better, but it's going to be one of those, like, I have to see it to believe it. Like, I mean, the way I sort of did with Josh Allen, where he eventually got really, really good. And now, like, it's a different situation with Josh Allen. Until I see it from Zach Wilson and the Jets, I'm not going to be able to pick them against the Patriots. So, yeah, I mean,
I'd say it's the Jets before Zach Wilson. I mean, look at how many first-round picks they've had. I think it's just we need to see from.
I mean, they did have a decent draft. They drafted Garrett Wilson, the wide receiver. So I mean, they drafted one of the best wide receivers.
That's true.
They have Elijah Moore as well. They got Braxton Berrios. They have a decent wide receiver core now, but it's going to be coming down to like whether or not they can kind of get everything else under control, which usually they've shown they can't do. So yeah, 6-2. Rohan has 7-1.
Yep.
Nearby has 6-2. Okay, week 9 against the Colts. This is interesting. The Colts last year beat the Patriots, ended their 7-game winning streak. But I don't know. I think Bill Belichick definitely remembers this game. This was the game where Jonathan Taylor at the end had that big run to seal the win for the Colts, the touchdown run. I think Belichick is going to look back at this game and also how the Colts are doing at this point. The thing is, it's actually a different situation. This is actually going to be trickier because now Matt Ryan is the quarterback for the Colts. Carson Wentz was the quarterback last season. So it'll be a difficult matchup, but I like that it is at home. So I'm going to go with a win here. It'll be a tough one, but I like the Patriots here.
Yeah, I think
7-2.
I think Matt Ryan's going to get his revenge, and it's going to cool off the Patriots' winning streak. And given the difficulty the Patriots have had against the Colts in the past, obviously Belichick will remember this game, and he has recovered from these things in the past. But I don't think any win streak can last that long, and I'm going with 7-2.
Yeah, we'll see how Jonathan Taylor plays this season. I think he's going to be great, but also, like you said, I think Belichick will remember. And also, we were pretty good at containing running backs in terms of scoring potential last season. And at this point, we will have already played like Najee Harris, AJ Dillon, Nick Chubb, probably. So I think we'll actually be able to find the formula here to beat the Colts.
And forget David Montgomery in Chicago.
Oh yeah, David Montgomery at Chicago is another one. Of course, I think he's really good, and maybe J.K. Dobbins if he's back. But that being said, so I think at this point, I would say that we beat the Colts to go 5-2.
In 7-2.
So come again?
Well, you said 5-2, but we're at week 9, so you would be 7-2, right?
Oh yeah, 7-2, yeah.
Okay, so then the Patriots are on bye week 10. So week 11, they play the New York Jets again. This time at Gillette Stadium.
How much over there?
Yeah.
8-2.
8-2. Yep.
All right. Okay. The next one is very intriguing. It's a Thanksgiving night matchup. First time since 2012, the Patriots will be playing on Thanksgiving night. Last time was actually 10 years ago against the New York Jets. That was the famous butt fumble game. So yeah, this time the Patriots will be playing the Vikings in Minnesota. That's going to be a tricky matchup, actually. It's going to be a very interesting matchup. I'm going to go with a win here. I mean, maybe I just feel like the Patriots can figure out a way to kind of contain Kirk Cousins. But the Vikings have a very good offense overall. Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. This is going to be a very interesting matchup. But I am going with a win here. So I guess this point, 9-2. Wow.
Yeah, I think it's going to be close, but I think it's going to be a win. Vikings, they're a good team, but I think Patriots, especially in prime time on Thanksgiving, I don't think they're gonna not want to lose. So I'm gonna go with 8-2.
You mean 9-2?
I mean, not 9-2. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly think this is kind of a toss up. Like we don't really play the Vikings that much. I don't even watch the Vikings that much. But I do think on Thanksgiving, it will be the first Thanksgiving for like some of them, but I don't think it's anywhere near like the divisional round game in terms of the implications. So I think we can actually pull out a victory here, but I think it would be very close. And in doing so, we would go 9-2.
Okay, so yeah, and week 13, another Thursday night matchup, this time against the Buffalo Bills at home. So I'm going to actually say it's going to be a win. I think the Bills are a great team, but I do think the Patriots have a chance in this game. I mean, obviously the Bills are still a great team, but I do like the Patriots' chances at a home game to win it, especially on prime time, unlike last year. So I am going with the Patriots here at this point. So at this point, the Patriots are 10-2 according to my predictions.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think much has really changed. The Bills still have Josh Allen, and the Patriots, Mac Jones. That core is still going to be there, but a lot of that that core team of like Stephon Diggs, like a lot of those core players are still there for the Bills, and they've given us a lot of problems. And it's not like we haven't beaten them before, but just the way that they pretty much shellacked us last year, I don't see any reason that things are going to really change much. So I'm going with the loss on this one. So that would put me at what, 9-3. I got losses so far against the Bills, the Colts, and the Dolphins. Those are 3 losses I have so far.
Yeah, I have to say, I think the Bills are really going to be among maybe the biggest Super Bowl favorites in my book entering the season. So I do have to think that they'll probably pip this game from us, unfortunately. And then we'll go 9-3.
Okay. Week 14, Monday Night Football, again, against the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. So I'm going with a loss here, actually. It's going to be tough. Like, I think Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins will be back from his suspension by then. Marquise Brown is now there. So they have a pretty good offense overall. Zach Ertz, I believe, is still there. So I think the Cardinals, in a primetime matchup, are going to get the job done. And I think the Patriots are going to go to 10-3.
Yeah, I'm going with the win on this one. Yeah, I don't think that I don't see any reason that the Patriots shouldn't pull it off. I mean, yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be in Arizona, and like you said, that a lot of the missing pieces for Arizona are now back. But yeah, I think the Patriots are good enough to pull it off. So I'm going with 10-3.
Yeah, I feel like Arizona goes really hot and cold. And I mean, last season they just had strange games, like when they lost to the Lions, albeit that was away. And also DeAndre Hopkins, I think the Patriots are pretty fun, or at least their coaching staff, like Belichick, will be definitely remember him when he was on the Texans. So I think that would also help. And I think this is a game, we will have just lost against the Bills, and I'm hoping that unlike last season, that this will inspire us to really bounce back and have these winning performances later. So I'm going to call a win against Arizona, and by my count, that would take me to 10-3.
Okay, week 15 next. A Sunday Night Football matchup against the Las Vegas Raiders in Vegas. That's going to be very interesting. Going up against Josh McDaniels. I actually have this as a loss as well. I think it's going to be very difficult. I think McDaniels is going to have the Raiders have one of the best offenses in the league this year. Derek Carr is there with Devontae Adams, who they acquired from Green Bay. They have a very good group overall. So I am going with a loss here. So 10-4.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be close, but I think the Pats still pull it off. Like they still, I think they're still good enough in Vegas against their former offensive coach. I think it's gonna be a win. So that will put me at 11-3.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm 10-4.
I mean, Josh McDaniels will be his first season. So on the flip side, of course, that means he'll know the Patriots system in and out. But also, I mean, it's his first season. At the end of the day, I mean, we all thought Matt Patricia would do amazing things in Detroit. It's really hard to tell.
Well, McDaniels was a head coach as well in Denver before.
He was, but I think most of his success, you could say, really came in the offensive coaching. So I do want to see what happens when he's in charge of the whole team. And I think because of that, there might be some flux that would help us out potentially. So I'm actually going to say that we pull off a win in Las Vegas and go 11-3.
Okay, so now week 16, Christmas Eve against the Cincinnati Bengals, the AFC champions from last year. I'm going with a win here. It's going to be a tough matchup, but I do like the way the Patriots have, I think the Patriots have a shot against Cincinnati. I still feel like Cincinnati, the Patriots, sort of match up relatively well against Cincinnati, I think, even with Cincinnati improving their offensive line. And I liked at the games at Gillette Stadium. And the Patriots at the time, according to my predictions, will be coming off 2 tough losses on primetime. So they're going to bounce back with a win against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals.
So did you say we're on a Cincinnati?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you said we're on a Cincinnati. Yeah, we're on a Cincinnati. So that's a win.
Yeah, I get. Well, I don't know. I guess in
So
this
Rohan,
case,
what's your prediction? 12-3?
We're on to Cincinnati.
What was the prediction for the?
Any question you ask me, the answer is going to be we're on to Cincinnati.
So you need to keep track of your prediction for the record.
Oh, I believe that puts me. Let's see, I got 3 losses so far. So
at 12-3.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm 11-4. Okay.
All right. I think I don't have as much rhyme and reason for this, but I think if we're playing the Raiders and Bengals in the AFC West, then we have to split. I feel like we'll split that one or the other. So I'm gonna say we'll lose to the Bengals and go 11-4.
Okay. Now another home game, last home game of the regular season, Week 17 against the Miami Dolphins. I'm going with a win. The Dolphins won Week 1. I think this time the Patriots will win Week 17. Yep.
the thorn continues to be that thorn. I'm going with the loss.
So 12. I'm at 12-4. What are you at?
I'm also at 12-4. Yep.
All right, and I think I'm gonna go 12-4 because I do think that we can pull it off against Miami for the first time in I guess 2 years, or actually I don't know. It's been a while, but I think over the course of the season, hopefully I'm anticipating a lot of growth in case it isn't obvious. I'm really projecting that we'll be in a lot of better position at the end of the season than we were at the end of last. So I think we'll have learned how to play against Tua and the Dolphins.
Okay, and Week 18 against the Buffalo Bills, I'll go with the loss this time. Though I will also note that this is a kind of an interesting matchup because, I mean, I guess depending on how the season actually goes, like if the Bills sort of don't need to play this last game, then this kind of just becomes a throwaway game, and the Patriots could potentially win it if they rest their starters. But I'm going with a loss, assuming that the seeding is going to be tight. So yeah, I think the Patriots will split with the Bills and lose this game, finish the season 12-5.
Yeah, I'm going with the loss here as well. I think the Bills sweep us, the Dolphins sweep us, and got that loss thrown in against the Colts as I predicted. So I'm finishing off at 12-5.
Okay, just like me.
Just in a different way though. But yeah.
Yeah, so I'm actually gonna end a little more optimistically. I think we're gonna win against the Bills and go 13-4. I think it's been a while since the Bills have swept us in the regular season, and no matter how good they are, I think it's still.
Well, they did sweep in 2020.
Yeah, but like last season, they didn't.
Yeah, but it's also been a while since the Bills were even relevant, and now they're a Super Bowl contender, so a lot can change.
A lot can change, yeah. But I said like that we have it splitting in games with the Dolphins, and I think we have to remember against the Bills, it's a very unique case because even though we didn't get swept, I mean we just got crushed in a very very terrible loss in the postseason last year. So I feel like there has to be some changes that come from that. And again, I'm projecting that we're going to be a lot better this season than last season. So I'm going to say we'll learn by this point and manage to take a game and split our regular season with them 1-1. So we're going to finish 13-4 in my book.
Okay, so 13-4, 12-5, and 12-5. So I mean, all three of us have the Patriots having an improved record from 2021, which was 10-7. I guess 10-8 if you include the playoff loss. So okay, yeah, and last but not least, we'll talk a little bit about the Red Sox.
Last and yes, actually least.
Yeah. So okay, let's just quickly just talk about the Red Sox. Like, I don't think this team is like. It just seems like something is very wrong. Like, I think the bullpen has been pretty bad for them overall. Like, the bullpen is actually.
What's good about this team? The bullpen's bad. The starting pitching is bad. The hitting is bad. Everything is bad. Like, there's not like any good thing to point to in this team.
Yeah, and it's already kind of brutal now, right? Because the Yankees are already 12 games ahead of them in the standings. I guess the only solace you can take is last year the Yankees were like 9 games behind the Red Sox in July, and they actually took them before losing it out in the end. So it does show that like you can overcome a bad start, you just don't want to. Like the Washington Nationals in 2019 started 19-31, and they won the World Series in the end. So it is possible to overcome bad starts, but they need to start from somewhere. So I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't know if like yesterday's win against Texas is going to start anything big, but I mean, they just look bad. Like they got swept by Chicago. They lost 2 or 3 to the Angels. And it's just sort of the way they lose some of these games. It's the bullpen just blows leads. Like it's
like
just not
that
acceptable.
series against the White Sox was just like outright painful, right? Like, and then they've been terrible in extra inning games. It's just been bad, like all out. I mean, the starting pitching, like Eovaldi's been somewhat okay. Pavetta's just been terrible. The bullpen
Well,
has not really been.
He was actually okay, right? Yesterday.
Yesterday he was okay. So that's like the rare exception.
Walker's been good.
Credit is due. Walker's also been reasonably holding the fort. But on offense, I mean, Trevor Story is. I think by now he should have been proving himself, and now he hasn't. I mean,
well, he did hit his first home run.
A couple of home. He did home run like recently, so he's gotten off the mark over there. But I don't think the superstars are really stepping up. Like Bogarts, Rafi Devers, JD Martinez, they've been kind of absent, right? Yeah, they're there, but their presence feels kind of absent. And
yeah, I mean, at this point, I would say they need to start somewhere, right? So they're 12-20, and if they have any shot at a postseason, which look, I mean, still May, right? So still like early in the sense
the talent is there. The talent is there. The pieces are there. Of course, we still don't have Chris Sale. He still has to come back.
But who knows when he's going to come back, right? Like,
but I don't
keep
think
hearing about him coming back, but he won't.
But this is not
later.
this is not any kind of talent deficiency. This is just gross underachievement. That's all. Like, and that can be fixed through coaching. And
I mean, is
Alex
the bullpen really just like underachieving? I don't think the bullpen is just good.
That's with the bullpen, that there's a case to be made that they're just fundamentally bad. But the offense is not fundamentally bad.
In the ninth inning, right? Like, I mean, that's not on the offense at that point. Like against Toronto, right? This was a few weeks ago when they were in Toronto. Jake Diekman came when it was a 5-2 game, and he allowed 3 runs. Then, like, they keep blowing leads in the ninth inning, and then they lose an extra innings, right? So
that's been a recurring theme, yeah.
So I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you take away, like, I mean, I don't even know. Like, I think they're actually the only team so far to have a walk-off loss against every other team in the division: Toronto, Tampa, New York, and Baltimore. Even Baltimore, they lost the series to Baltimore. So like, this is bad so far. Like, I mean, if you take like all these walk-off losses that probably also happened due to blown saves, and if you even were able to win like half of them, you would probably be at 500, which is a lot better, right?
I mean, this is like increasingly starting to look like one of those just like really just forgettable seasons. Like, I'm talking like 2014, 2015. Maybe not quite as bad as 2012, but it's.
What about the 2020 team?
The 2020 team was also kind of Of course, Cora wasn't there. It was a shortened season. Lots of moving parts over there. But this is starting to feel like one of those seasons where, okay, all right, he's got to punt, right? Got to rebuild, and then hope that next year is going to be better. Because to come back at this point would require some sort of Herculean effort. Not saying that's not possible.
The Nationals did it, right, a few years ago.
Yeah, but when you're staring at a 10.5 game deficit in the division, something like that.
Yeah, but you need a wild card. You just need to get into the wild card,
which makes it somewhat more feasible, but it's looking pretty bleak, and to state the obvious.
Yeah, I mean, we really need. I mean, we talk about the pitching, which is obviously a huge problem. But as Rowan said, I think our issues have just been on really both sides of it. I mean, look at Kike Hernandez, how he's batting like under 200. Then there's Bobby Dahlbeck, who has like 3 RBIs with big runners at like 53 bases. Like, I think there's like 53 possible scoring opportunities. He's capitalized on 3 of them. And this was according to, I think, Boston.com. So my point is, now my point is, like, it has to be on both sides of the baseball. You can't just have great pitching or great hitting. The problem is we have neither of those. And meanwhile, all at the same time, I do think there are some reports now on Xander Bogaerts. I don't know how great he's actually been to start the season either. At least where we are right now. And is that thing I was telling you about earlier that I do wonder, when you have so many pieces in flux, when you have a guy like Xander Bogaerts who's such a big part of the team, and there's so much speculation about what his future is. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that doesn't affect the performance of the team in some way. So I really think that is something that we need closure on at some point if we're able to bring some stability maybe to the team in the dressing room.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll give overall this team until like July. If they're still pretty bad in July, then I'm just going to wave the white flag.
And that's the halfway point, though. Even we're pretty much approaching the 1/3 point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're just going to continue to be like 12-20, like that type of play for the rest of the year. I think they'll probably should be playing a little better, but they have already dug themselves into a pretty bad hole as it is, right? So it is tough to get out of that. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the issue is. I think the bullpen has definitely been pretty bad. The offense is definitely underachieving. I think there's just a lot of problems right now. So I'm not sure like what the fix is. Like, I don't think there's any clear fix at all. So it might just have to be, you have to trade away some of your players and try to rebuild that way. Like Chaim Bloom is kind of known for that, right? Coming from Tampa. So I'm not entirely sure what the approach is going to be for this team, but I think at some point they'll have to make some like moves to address.
But yeah, expect tough times ahead. I don't think we've hit the bottom yet.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see then. But yeah, that will be this week's episode. Obviously, I mean, besides the Red Sox, exciting times to come for the Bruins, Celtics, and Patriots. So yeah, we will be back next week, hopefully to recap the game and hopefully to cover more playoff games for the Bruins and Celtics. But we'll have to see about that. Until then,
yep.
Enjoy the
All
rest
set
of
for
your
puck
week.
drop. Peace, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye.